So this new room that I've been in for the past few months has some definite advantages over the last room I was in. It's larger, it's got these nice blue walls, it's got more room to store stuff, but one of the main disadvantages is the sound of the room itself. It's sort of an awkward medium size with very parallel walls. It's not really large enough to have a big open sound, but it's not really small enough to have a tight punchy sound. So I've struggled a little bit with it. And recently I've fixed most of the weird flutter issues and the worst echo problems by putting just a bunch of sound absorption panels all around the room, but I'm still kind of struggling to get an interesting room sound. The overheads and the close mics seem to be kind of tight and focused and what they need to be, but I was really spoiled in my last room because I was able to have the tight and focused sound from the room I was in, and then right outside there was a large open space that sounded great for drums, so I would just put mics out there. I've done this in the past with several different rooms that I've recorded in, and I've talked about this in prior videos, taking a microphone and actually putting it outside the room to get a more open sound. Well, I don't really have that benefit here because the door out of here leads straight outside. So again, I don't really have that benefit of having a large open room sound. So I've been trying to think of interesting and creative ways to get a more interesting and a bigger room sound. And the first thing that I tried doing was just miking the opposite wall to me, which is fairly common to take your room mic, especially if it's a cardioid microphone, and have it reject the sound of the drums directly behind it, and then just pick up the first reflections and all the other reverb that you're going to get from the wall behind it. But to my ears, or at least to what I'm used to getting out of a room mic, that still sounded a little too focused, if you can believe it. So what I'm gonna try and do today is just put a mic in a bunch of different positions and try some unique setups, and I'm gonna try miking different objects and see if I can get some splash off the actual objects. So let me take you through what we're going to walk through here. So let me explain how we're gonna run through this. We're gonna have two microphones, both cardioid condensers. They're Octava MK012s. They're small pencil condensers. One of them is going to be the control. That's going to be miking the opposite wall, which, like I said, was what I tried first. And then the other microphone I'm going to try in a few different positions, including miking up a cymbal at the far end of the room. I've got a pan or a pot that we're going to try putting the microphone inside. And then I've got a couple other ideas for things that might be kind of weird, but might be kind of cool as well. So I'm going to set the microphone up. I'm going to flip back and forth between whatever the interesting room sound is and then the control mic, and then we'll see if any of them are actually better than just miking the back wall. So the first one on deck here is an idea that I'm pretty proud of, and I don't know if it's actually gonna pan out the way I'd like it to, and that is I'm going to set up a cymbal and have the under edge of the cymbal facing me at the far end of the room, and I'm going to just put a mic right on the cymbal and see if I can get any more reflections off of this big metal plate than I did off of the wall at the end. So let's see what that sounds like. Shockingly, not as interesting as I would have liked, and not really reflective. I don't feel like you're actually getting that much splash of anything interesting off the cymbal. So what I thought was a brilliant idea, maybe not so great. The next thing I'm gonna try is I'm going to set up a pot facing me, so it's gonna be concave facing me, and then I'm going to have the microphone stuck into that. I'm gonna see if maybe enclosing the microphone in metal does something more interesting. So let's see what that sounds like. So I actually think that that sounded more interesting than miking up the cymbal, or at least more different, but I don't know if it actually sounded better than just miking up the far wall. It had sort of a closed, like almost nasally or boxy sound to it, which might be cool depending on the project, but as far as like a general purpose thing where I'm just trying to get more life out of the room, I don't think that that was the trick. The next thing I'm going to try is I think I'm going to just open the door straight out into the parking lot, and I'm not going to spend too much time doing this, but I'm just going to stick a mic out there, and normally you don't get a lot of reverb outdoors, obviously, but I don't know, I'm desperate here. So let's try sticking a mic outside the door, literally outside the building. Okay, so wind noise, background noise, really not a viable option, and at the end of the day, I don't think it actually sounded any better than miking up the wall. So on to the next one. I'm going to try miking up the ceiling. So I'm going to see if maybe the reflections are just different off the ceiling than off the back wall, so let's try that. So I think that actually sounded pretty good, and maybe that does sound better than miking up the wall. That I think I'm going to have to experiment with a little bit more. Now another idea I just had is I'm going to take a drum that is stacked in the corner, and I'm going to mic the head on the drum, which is going to probably sympathetically resonate as I play the drums in the room. The drum on the far edge is going to resonate as well. Creative Sound Lab, what's that guy's name? Ryan Earnhardt, I think. He does a video about this where I think he does a room mic like through a tom, which is very cool. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that video. So this will probably be something similar to that. So let's see what that sounds like. So again, that is actually a very interesting sound, I think, but what's making it interesting is that you're just getting a lot of resonance of the drum head, which is not necessarily going to vibe well with the rest of the microphones or whatever track you're recording. So again, cool, and maybe if you tuned the head to the root of the song, I don't know, maybe that could be cool, but it's too vibey for what I'm going for here. The next thing I'm going to try is I'm going to try miking up the shell of a drum that I have stacked up. So rather than miking the head, I'm going to just mic up the shell and see if there, I don't know, more interesting reflections off of the shell of the drum. So here's that. So again, that's kind of an interesting sound and doesn't sound too weird and may in fact sound better than miking up the back room of the wall. I'm kind of out of ideas here. I have one more bonus experiment that I'm going to try, but first I just want to know from you guys in the comments if there's anything else that I'm not thinking of. I'm really just trying to get the effect of a larger room sound in a small room, and miking up these little bits and pieces and reflective things doesn't really seem to be doing it. I guess for the moment I'm probably going to stick with just miking up the back wall, or I might, you know, work with miking up the ceiling a little bit more. But if you have any tips and tricks that you want me to try, please let me know. And for the last thing I'm going to try, this is a trick I just heard about recently from Brian Lash at Blash Studios. He was saying that he takes like a Subkick microphone, which I've used for years, and he was saying instead instead of putting it right up on front of the kick drum, that he would pull it back and have it in the room. So that I have never ever tried before. I've always had the Subkick right on the drum. So I'm gonna pull that Subkick back, several feet to the back edge of the room, and here's the Hail Mary. Let's just see what that sounds like. Okay, so there you go. Some different room miking ideas, some things maybe you want to try, some things maybe that you no longer have to try because you saw that they did or did not work in my experiment here. Let me know again what you think. If you have any tricks that you want me to try, I need them at this point. So let me know. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.